Namaskar, welcome to another edition of NavaVimarsh podcast. So today in our book talk session, so today again we have with us Abhas Maldahiyar sir. Namaste sir.
Namaste.
And for audience, really apologies for this delay. There are some other issues which we could not really take control over. So again, apologies for this delay in this podcast. But when we have the author with us, let's start our discussion. So Avas ji, I want to ask you like a question. I think not meant to be ask you. Let me share my screen to you. Uh, So this is the like a preview of the book, your book, Babur, The Quest for Hindustan. So this is a preview available in Google Books. So in the first page, you quote this poem of Rajputi Bengal. So if you can share with us, our audience, okay, like the significance of putting this poem of Rajput valor and the Johar committed by the Rajputi women, okay, during one of the conquest events of Babur. So, what is the significance of this poem, putting it at the top of the book itself?
Yes, I am glad that this caught your eyes because often the things which are artistic rendering or at times which becomes a part of the dedication not mix the not get does not get the light of the reader. But I'm glad that you brought it up, and it has got a very essential significance because these are the part of the book which I was writing when the book was done. These are the part of the prologue, preface, dedication, etc. And I began to pen it on the day of Holi. And because it was being penned on the day of Holi, and I knew the one gory tale about Holi, which was related to Chittor. And that also was a time when somehow Jauhar was making appearance once again in television channels. They were acclaimed historians who were saying that Jauhar was a cowardly act and whatnot. So I was quite astonished by their claim because that claim should not come from somebody who calls themselves historian. And imagine that Chittor is a place where still Holi is remembered with a massive massacre which did happen. And this massacre is related to the day of Holi. Now, when I was writing this book, one thing which came very constantly to me was the valor of the Rajputs. Because today the social media can be divided between the Rajputs and the Maratha camps, and they will try to make each other seem smaller. While the truth of the matter is that Marathas fought as much as did the Rajput did. They all did their part and partial what was required for the motherland. Maharana Pratap did as much as what Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj could do in the given potential and the given time frame. They all did whatever they could. So when you give it all what you have given, irrespective of what results comes, your intent is what I need to talk about. Someone may get the chance to only fight a battle for only 3 days and may just die and get Virgati. While somebody would be raging the battle for 10 years, but the battle of this 3 days cannot be any smaller than the battle of the 10 year long years because the intent is what matters. Now, of all these things, what was constant is the importance of the mothers because when the Rajputs are going into the battle and their mother are made of steel, this is what I make a point because they are the one who like you can't expect mother to send off their child to the battle, almost all the mothers, because this was a trained in Rajputana that once a child grows older, he's a teen, he walks into the battle, he becomes a soldier. Like this is a very famous poem like 12 बरस लो कुकुर जिए 16 जिए सियार 18 बरस से ज्यादा छतरी जिए तो जीवन है धिक्कार, something like that. So It means that if you are living more than 18 years as a Kshatriya, it means that your life is not worth because you are not fighting battle. Right now, you are required to be in a battlefield. And while we are talking about the soldiers, we are forgetting that the mothers who have made them what they are singing that तुम्हारे life पे धिक्कार है if you are not going to the battle. And these are the mothers who, in fact, walked into the Johar. One battle happens outside the fort, and one battle happens inside when they jump into the fire. This is a battle of the bangles, what I call. I compare bangles with the sword. So imagine the strength of those people. And I thought that if we owe a lot to our Rajput and the Maratha soldiers, this book is essentially about the Rajput because that's they were in the picture. But we owe a lot to those mothers who created the soldiers to be the way they were. And also to these mothers who had the courage to walk into the fire just because they did not want it to get violated because of the Malichas. And when these people are being called as a cowardly figures by acclaimed historians, and I was full of rage, and I thought that I need to pen it through the art, piece of art, that is a poem. And that is how my dedication goes, and it goes to praise the Rajputi wombs. I use the term womb because that's what really has made what we have got. And at the same time, in the Battle of Chittor, the siege of Chittor, it was the day of Holika Dahan, a day before Holi, when the siege was broken, about to be broken, and then all the Rajput female walked into the fire. And when they walk the next day, when all the soldiers have already been killed, the common Rajputs do the Shakha, as in Jauhar Shakha, is the final strand. They come wearing Kesari turban and they walk in with whatever weapons they could have from the household. They 30,000 walk in and they get slaughtered. They had a choice. They had a choice to submit to the soldiers of Akbar and live a happy life. They knew that what is going to be the consequence. Maybe that they will not live, but it was not for the polity. Like people say that सब कुछ same था. It was all about the politics, land, etc. But it was a lot more than land. They were trying to defend the Dharani Mata. They were trying to defend the Dharti Mata. They were trying to defend the motherland. And I still get the goosebumps when I hear those stories. And I thought that this needs to be told that in Chittor still people celebrate Holi with the red color, remembering the Chittor massacre. Because the Holika Dahan when this Jawar happened, and the day of Holi when the common Rajputs, not the soldiers, walked into the battle with whatever arms they had, and they just fought till they died or they attained the Virgati. So that's the reason why this poem had to make a way. And I believe that this poem is a great start to the story which will unfold in the books to in the pages to come.
Yeah, actually, I was surprised to like I was going through the book and it caught my eye, and then I actually started doing some research on this. So that's what I thought. Okay, I need to ask you this question when I get a chance. So now, actually, what I have done is let me share my screen again.
Yes.
So I have created a kind of chronology with the help of AI to actually show the book chapters and their little bit of explanation. I think it is not being shown. Yeah, here it is. So we are going to follow your book chronology, okay, and then we will discuss few of the pertaining points which people want to discuss. So I'll go to uh, okay. I think I had done this. Yeah. Okay. So I want to like discuss this specific chapter. Okay. Jihad at Chandiri. Okay. Why you have named it as jihad? Because in the other chapters you have not mentioned the word jihad. Okay. But for this specific chapter, you had mentioned the word jihad. So what prompted you to name the chapter like this? Military campaign against fortress of Chanderi in central India.
Yes. So this is the epilogue of the battles which Babur fights. When I say epilogue, it is this towards the end. This is what happens. This is the final strand, and When this happens, before it, there are two battles which have already occurred with the Hindu king. That is the Rajput Rana Sangram. One is Battle of Khanwa, other is the Battle of Bayana. Even though Babur had declared the Battle of Khanwa to be jihad as well, he declared that to be jihad as well. But still, I call this chapter Jihad at Chanderi because this gives him the result. So, what happens in Battle of Chanderi is uh, again a Johar is committed. Uh, Johar is committed, and it's in the January of 1528, or if I don't recall the date exactly, either towards the end of 1527 or early 1528, is when the battle happens, and again a Johar is committed. Normally, people don't associate Johar with the reign of Babur, but a Johar was committed here. And then Babur goes on to write that mm, I have destroyed the Darul Harab. So Darul Harab is a place of the war with the infidels. So if Darul Harab is over, it means that Darul Islam is going to come in. So when you have established Darul Islam, when you have destroyed Darul Harab, when you are making such references, it means that it is epitome of your jihad. And then you have achieved what you wanted to. And Babur makes that inscription very clear. And this happens after Battle of Khanwa and Battle of Bayana. First is Battle of Bayana, then Battle of Khanwa, then Battle of Chanderi. So this is when Babur has almost done up with his main enemies. Of course, in later on he will have to face the battle with the Sultan, the Survansh, etc. This will happen. But before that, it is assumed that this is the end of his challenges. That's why this has been named as the Jihad at Chanderi.
Yes. So, to the follow-up to this question, so actually I wanted to actually because you have written the this book Hitler and the Babur, the Quest for Hindustan, probably at the same time. Okay, and both of these characters are like evil in nature. Okay, violent. So, from your perspective, like if you have to like compare, given an option, who was a more vile character in terms of perpetrating violence against women, children, killing people? So, would you put Babur as the worst one, or Hitler in terms of their atrocities that they have committed? Although they're in different ages, so they are. So it's a 19th century you're talking about, 20th century you're talking about Hitler. It's a different time altogether. But in terms of their propensity to commit violence, okay, which we all know, who do you think tops the chart, Hitler or Babur, in terms of their virulence towards violence?
This is an interesting question and the proposition which you bring. And I do dare say that mm, because this always goes to your mind because I have become a writer of antagonist. I do write on antagonist. And a few moments ago, I just said that at times, if one has fought a battle for 3 days with the intent to liberate his motherland or keep it free, and someone has done it for 10 years, they are equally respectful to me. Same parameter applies to the both wrongdoers in this case. Of course, the scale changes because the timeline is different. Sophistication is very different in terms of what Hitler does. He's got a very organized system of doing fulfilling his target. Baba too has an organized system, yet it is not as sophisticated as that of Hitler because of the timeline, because of the the advancement, etc. in the technology is what Babur lacks. But definitely, he's better than many of the lot around him. He has brought in matchlock. Babur intends to wipe out the Hindus, and though the claim is otherwise that Babur was very pro-Hindus and he wanted to safeguard cows and etc., which appears in a fake wasihat, which would appear later on. But people use that wasihat to make a claim that Babur was very tolerant towards Hindus. Likewise, for the Hitler, Hitler too had a lot of hatred against the Jews, and his hatred for Jews was no less than or no more than that what Hitler Babur had for the Hindus. It's just that in terms of the organizational and the sophistication scale, they both differed by large as in really largely they differed. So it's very tough to categorize either of them that who is bigger of the evil.
Understood. So, one, I got the inclination that Hitler was more of a he's not a religious zealot the way Babur was. Like Hitler had politics and religion mixed together, but Babur's hatred for Hindus was something which was drawn from the scriptures and the Abrahamic morality that they have. So that one difference I could find. I have read both the books. So his
Yes.
religious uh, zeal to actually, from the scriptures, drawn to actually annihilate and eliminate all idol worshippers is something which is different from Hitler's political ideology or the other ideology that he had to actually eliminate Jews.
Yes. I will make a point here. So what becomes interesting is that though, see, Hitler's bigotry is very different because the moment he goes in alliance with the Islamic world, his bigotry sees no less of what Babur had because he has decided to wipe out the Jews. Initially, he wanted to not wipe them out. Initially, he wanted to send them to the Palestine and be done, just throw them out of Germany. But after coming in close contact with the Muslim world, he is sure that he needs to annihilate them because he does not want them to even live in Palestine. And he says that it's my regret that Islam couldn't conquer the Europe. So, which indirectly means that he has become a mujahid. He's a mujahid, though he may be having a name Adolf Hitler. Like we had Headley too, the main person behind the 2611, what we saw. But here we have Adolf Hitler, who has all the trait of being a Mujahideen because he is desiring that whole Europe should become Islamic. That's what any average Islamist does in Europe today. He says that we need to Islamize, we need to. He ensured that the radio propagation happens. Today also it happens in Europe, like the mullahs are doing it. He ensured that the loudspeakers are used to propagate your words of Islam. He had let the imams speak out the importance of annihilating the Jews, etc. It did happen. A lot of propaganda, Islamic propaganda, was published through the Nazis. This is what they are doing. So, in fact, he used Islam as a great tool to justify the annihilation of the Jews, which he did not find much in Christianity, though Christianity has the verses which is against the Jews, and they were not on good terms, as people would think today, given the support Israel gets from the Western world. But this is not the reality. They are persecuted by the Christians too, and it's just that the Christian and the white people do carry that white man burden. So that's the reason why they are very apologetic about what they did to the black. Of course, they are white supremacists who do exist. We all know it, but still they are quite apologetic, and their apology is so massive that they embrace everybody. So while Europe is seeing that downfall with immigration, etc., it because of that tendency of being so extra apologetic about something which is creating the issue. But coming back to the Hitler ka case, he is no different than a modern mullah sitting in Europe. He was exactly doing the same.
Okay. My second, the next question is regard to Babur's relationship with the Afghani people or tribes, because like currently, do Afghani people consider Babur as their hero? Okay, because Pakistani people idolize him for wrong reasons, but do Afghani people idolize Babur as their hero, as a warrior? Because if I just show you the picture again, so Babur's encounter with Afghans, okay, continued conflicts with Afghan tribes who remained hostile to the Mughal rule, requiring constant military attention. This is something which is like for me interesting that two people currently in modern generation idolize Babur as a kind of a hero, the Afghani people itself. Do you?
Well, this is quite interesting because, in fact, in Babur 1 also, while I was researching, I was going through the folios of Babur Nama, etc. There too, I find that Babur is having a lot of hostilities against the Afghans. The reason was that mm, he wanted to conquer, he is looking to expand, and definitely who is coming on the way has supposed to be annihilated, killed, or whatever. He does make skull tower of the Afghans too while getting into Hindustan, and somehow Afghans never were in good terms with Babur. And Babur did a lot of massacre of Afghanis. It was general massacre was a regular procedure for him. And even if they are submitting, they come and submit. Still, he will not accept the submittance. Rather, he will kill them. He will do the slaughter. And as he was progressing towards the Eastern Belt, I spoke about the Sur ones, etc. So, which the fight will continue through Humayun, and Humayun would be pushed towards Persia, and he will have to take refuge there. He would even become a Shia. He would get converted to a Shia Muslim, though he's a Sunni, just to get the favor of the Persian against the Afghans. And these all things do happen. And Babur was always having hostile times against the Afghans. And today it's ironic that Afghanistan wants to idolize, or say Pakistan wants to idolize Babur, because this was land like, I'll give you an example. There was a general massacre which Babur had done. It was the massacre of the Bajoris. Now, Bajor is it comes in the Pakhtunkhwa province of the Pakistan, right? And it was earlier controlled
Pakhtunkhwa.
by, yeah. It falls in that region in the Pakistan, which shares the border with Afghanistan. So Babur did commit a massacre of the Bajoris because he thought that they are not Muslim enough, as in they are almost like an ex-Muslim, or they are not following Islamic tradition properly. So he slaughters them. So and that slaughter was so merciless. Around, if I'm not wrong, around 3,000 people died in that massacre. And then again, he made the skull tower, etc. So there is a lot of account of Afghans being killed and assassinated, killed mercilessly by Babur. But still, they see him as a hero, which is not a good thing. And that irony also passes on to the title Khan, which I often make a point. I spoke about it in Ronak's podcast, and I received a lot of abuse. And so I make a point that Khan has nothing to do with the Muslims or the Islam, because it's a Central Asian surname. And earlier it was a title which was for the leader of the Kabila, and the Khans were big persecutors of the Muslim. They had in fact wiped out Islam. Islam was only existing in the subcontinent in Bharat or Hindustan. Otherwise, Islam was completely wiped out. And so then people make a case that, but the Mongols got converted to Islam. That's not the point. See, Mongols are continuing their tradition. The Khan was there, they are continuing their surname. There's no harm doing it because it's what they are. They are Mongols and they're carrying it. It becomes ironical if, say, a Pakistani or an Indian or somebody else from somewhere takes the title of Khan for two reasons. A, you are not Mongol or Central Asian. B is that the Khans are known to be persecutor of Muslim. So what really makes you give, what logic you have to even subscribe to that title? So this is the question which I raise to the people often. It applies to the Afghans, it applies to the Indian Muslims, it applies to everybody, right? So this is almost like a Stockholm syndrome. People try to justify that, it's very tough for them to even accept that if the conversion happened, it happened for something which was not great, something bad had occurred with the ancestors. They say that it was great that this conversion happened and we fell into the thing of Islam. Oh, alhamdulillah that it happened, this is how they will respond to you. But the point is that there was a lot of atrocity committed on their ancestors. They had to pay the jizya. They finally succumbed to it and finally got converted. There are a lot of things which happened. So this the quest to see the Babur as hero or taking the surnames like Khan, etc., are very ironical and speaks a lot about the Muslim community. But one more thing is very interesting, other angle of it. Babur was the first person who tried to demolish the Bamiyan Buddha. He was the first person to do it. So, and finally, the task was completed by Taliban, the followers of Deoband. So, if that is the case, why shouldn't they idolize Babur? Because he was the one who wanted to destroy the Bamiyan Buddha. But the irony comes back to us Indians because it's our first Prime Minister of country, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, who's of course patronized Buddhism. He said that Ashoka the Great and whatnot, the things were picked from there, and Ashoka was made a very idealistic ruler, etc. It was almost patronization of Buddhism, if you ask me. And then he goes on to appreciate Babur, that he is the most cultured man you can ever meet. So, on one side, you are talking about Buddhism being a great sect, religion, Ashoka being a great ruler, and you are saying that the man who destroyed one of the greatest symbol of Buddhism to be the most civilized man. So, when our own first prime minister goes on to do thus such circus, then what should we expect from illiterate, uneducated few Pakistanis out there? So, you know, so the joke is actually upon us if you look that way.
So irony is that the Afghans are now like taunting Pakistanis for naming their missiles as Babur.
Yes,
So that's a real irony. I'll ask one more question, then we'll go to one more thing, important thing. So you mentioned the lust for Hindustan, okay, that Babur had to actually conquer, and like all his life was dedicated to actually conquer the land of Hindustan. Okay,
yes.
what was his psychology that one person, like he was a talented person but he used his talents to actually like his goal to exterminate Hindus and idol worshippers? What was the psychology like of a person, and how the psychology is drawn from the Abrahamic morality that he subscribed to?
See, he subscribes entirely from Abrahamic morality and also from the Central Asian morality. So now, like for example, mm, so one thing I have to give it to the Central Asians that they were not as kattar of a Muslim as the the subcontinent world tries to be, because they will be alcoholic enough, right? They will be engaged in, and even Afghanistan, if you see, they will be engaged in homosexual acts. Bachabazi is very common in Afghanistan, right? So, but when it comes to the part beyond Afghanistan, till where Babur's main imprint vanishes and his foreign part starts, like in Hindustan, you will see that they are way more Islamic, and they want to follow Quran to the T, as in to the perfection, as it what they want to do. But if you look at the life of Babur, life of other Samarkandis and everybody, it's very un-Islamic in nature. It just happens that they happen to be Muslim. So one thing was clear that we have to establish Sharia law wherever we go. And that again is ironical because they themselves are not following Sharia, but they want to apply the Sharia law, right? And they will they had this quest that Hindustan needs to be Islamized because that's what Taimur wanted. So it has to be done by hook or by crook. But at the same time, every other thing Islamic was not very constant with them. So the conquest, the idea of conquest comes from both Taimur and Genghis Khan, if you put it this way, because both were big conquerors. And more than Taimur, Genghis was a great conqueror, if you really look at it. And his state was a very secular state. He had a very clear distinction between religion and the state, which the rule of Babur, etc., did not have that separation between the church or the state and the religion. It always went hand in hand. So his Central Asian morality made him kill people very with brutality. But when it merged with the Abrahamic or rather the Islamic way, it really took off at a different level because it gave you the prescription to kill the polytheist. It gave you the prescription. So one is that you see, imagine somebody is brutal already because of the culture and tradition where he comes from. Then he gets a prescription that your brutality has to be directed to a particular community or the sect. It means that person will really become a bigot, a violent bigot. This is what happened with the likes of Babur.
Yes, but if I can go here, okay, understand. Yeah. So
Yes.
correct. He also actually invaded Bengal as well.
Yes.
If I
Later part of his life.
Yeah, yeah, later part of life actually he invaded Bengal.
Yes.
So like if he was trying to establish like a Islamic state, and you had the sultans, correct? The Bengal Sultanate already established. So what
Hmm.
was his like logic or reasoning behind invading the Bengal Sultanate? Because you had an Islamic ruler there itself. Like I just want to understand the psychology.
You make a very pertinent point which people should hear very carefully as we discuss, because it also answers you a lot. Like a common question arises that they were fighting more among the Muslims, then how can they be anti-Hindu? Because they have done more battles against the Muslims. Now, see, uh, even today, if you look at the Islamic world, Persia is not on good terms with, or say Iran is not on good terms with Saudi. Of course, the angle of Shia Sunni comes into the picture. But at the same time, Iran is on very good terms with Palestine, though Palestine is Sunni. Uh, Iraq is not on good terms with Iran, and they even went on a full-fledged war and a battle. In that battle, also, it was about Shia Sunni. But Iraq and Iran both had constant support for the Palestine. Now, Pakistan has got very bad relationship with Iran, but still Iran butts in and talks about Kashmir issue. They spoke about it in the past. They spoke against CAA, etc., and whatnot. So, what this tells you is that geopolitical way of looking at any conquest is very different. The common aim is to grow as much as you can expand, thereby not really is compromising on the Islamic point of view. So, how does it really matter that if I defeat a Islamic ruler and I again go there and rule? It doesn't matter. So, the people are not affected because the rule of Islam itself. It's just that I am not declaring it as a jihad. I am not going to take the spoils of war as I do against the polytheist Hindus. That makes a distinction. So battle is a constant thing. I want to grow my khalifa, as in I want to become a caliph, which all of them want to. But it, and you can, because everyone is aspiring to become the caliph as the boss among all the Muslims, among all the tribes, who is the boss. Everyone is trying to do it, but everyone has got a constant aim of defeating the infidel. Like, let's take example of the Rakhi case as in Raksha Bandhan. Every Raksha Bandhan, you get a Times of India op-ed by a lot of people that, Karnavati sent a Rakhi to Humayun, and that's where the Rakhi tradition began. And Humayun came running for the sake of the Resham Rakhi, Resham Kadhaga, and he saved Rani Karnavati. This is how the story goes. Or tries to save Rani Karnavati, and that's why Mughal have a very important role to play in our celebration called Raksha Bandhan. But the truth goes this way, that Humayun denied to go against this uh, empire of the same family. This is Bahadur Shah of Gujarat. He decides to go against him, and he writes to Bahadur Shah, which is recorded by Farishta, that you are such a great king. How do you take care of these infidels? And I am so glad that you are picking a battle with them. And he declares that I am not going to go into the battle because this is a battle against the infidel. So even though Bahadur Shah is enemy of Humayun, He chooses not to come to support Rani Karnavati. We don't know whether she wrote a letter or not, but he chooses not to go and support. Forget he coming for Rakhi and all those melodrama. But he surely decided not to come because she's an infidel. So they have a very categorical. After that, we'll fight the battle. As in, he was ready to fight the battle with Bahadur Shah after that. But the first thing is that when infidel is involved, we will not interfere. We'll ensure that infidel is crushed by hook or by crook. So even if today the world goes on the war, which they shouldn't, say, and then I'm sure that the Ummah will come join hands in hands. There will be no such thing called you are my enemy. I'm sharing a border with you and say Afghanistan, I don't know how the things will pan out when it is about the global jihad. It will be very different, and somehow Indians need to be very conscious about it. Like a lot of Indians felt gaga that Afghanistan is doing this against Pakistan and not. That's fine, good for them. They are doing it because of their own political interest, etc. So while we should definitely pursue the relationship for the poll, but we should be very careful. Like that much crowd really coming out to celebrate the Talibani leader in the Deoband, it takes you back to the era of the Khilafat, makes you believe that what can come to you. So be prepared, brace yourself, don't be the fool.
Understood. So before I ask another question, let me verse to the audience who are watching. So this is the book that we are talking about. So a very beautiful book. Try to get the physical copy of it. It's really nice, really well crafted book. And in the let me just share one more thing for people. So I have actually put all the links in India, UK, USA, Australia. So wherever you are watching, okay, you can get the book from wherever you want. All the links are there in the description of this podcast. I will request everybody to get hold of this book, enrich yourself, get knowledge, so that when somebody sends you that message of Rani Karnavati, then you can tell them to read better history than this. Yes. So now I think I have not mentioned. Okay. I I think okay. I give me a second. Yeah. Yes. So this is the link. All the links are there in the description. So if people who want to buy the book wherever you are in USA, UK, India, outside India, Australia, all the links are there in the description. So you can go ahead and buy the book and do buy the book, the physical book, especially that you can purchase. Sir, so now my next question, it's a very interesting question. Let me go back to the document that I have created. Yes. So this document actually it is part of the book itself, chapter itself. So you had actually given a few interesting questions to ask to the also the readers as well. Sri Ram Janmabhoomi and inscription. Okay, a detailed examination of historical inscriptions and archaeological evidence related to disputed Ayodhya site. First of all, like, what were you thinking when you added this chapter to the book, and why this is very important for the book's context, and also for the context of us Hindus who would read this book?
So, what really goes as a problem often is that we are not very serious about our past. And I can definitely say it after writing these chapters because the reason is see, whatever I am pointing it out, this is what our stalwart historians on the right side should have done. I am doing it very late. I am not a historian by my qualifications. I am somebody who just likes history because my father is a historian and from the childhood I have seen history and I love it. Uh, if you are told that this very structure or say a temple was destroyed by XYZ person, is very important because you know that who that wrongdoer is or who the criminal is. Imagine that a case happens. There are many criminals around, and there's a murder case, and somebody is somebody else who is not a great person, who is not a good person. He gets the punishment, and the other person who has done other things is facing the trial for other things, but he's never told that he did this murder or something. This is not the justice. This is not the right thing done. As important it is to know that who destroyed the temple, rather, who temple was destroyed. It is very important to know that who is that destroyer, and we need to know that who is the villain of our life, or villain of our civilization. And there are many, but for these particular structures which are so essential to us, we cannot joke around with it. Whether it's Sri Ram Janmabhoomi, or it is Kashi ke Bhole Baba, or it is say the Krishna Janmabhoomi. These are very
Mathura.
essentially Mathura. It is very important to us, and people cannot mess around with it. And it means that we have not been very serious about really pinning out that okay, this is what was important to us was that create a noise that of course the temple is destroyed, very fine. But I keep on saying that we have more uh, activist, we have more activism, but no activity. As in, we can have the activism of raising the point that okay, Ram temple was destroyed, let's Hindus get united, etc., and everything. That's fine, fantastic. That's a most thing to have. But why we're so lazy to find out that who is that person who destroyed the temple? It is equally important. It speaks of that we were not very serious about the project. We were just so it does not reflect good on you. It means that we just wanted to create a case that okay, Ram temple has been destroyed. Let's do a movement around it. Let's talk about the Hindu Renaissance and ho gaya. But this is not how it should have been done. Now, where we were taken in right for is because of Francis Buchanan, who was a person who had been assigned to survey the whole of India. And he went to the south, he went to the north, and he accounts in early 19th century that the memory of the people say that the Hindus, that Aurangzeb destroyed it. But there's some Muslims who are making a claim that it was built by Babur. And he produces an inscription given by, translated by a Maulvi. Translated by a Maulvi, not exact inscription, which became the main inscription for our right wing scholarship, our right wing rage, to make a case that it was destroyed by Babur. Interestingly, if you go to the full translation of those five inscription, which are produced by the Maulvi, in last one it says that talks about the lineage of the great Timurids. It starts with Timur and ends at Aurangzeb. What the hell is Aurangzeb doing in the reign of Babur? So there's a five set. So I'm just giving you that how objectively we can really approach it. So there is no reason why Aurangzeb would be been spoken about in inscription. But I still don't believe that that inscription was the original one because that was a translated one given by a Maulvi to Buchanan. We don't know what actual inscription was. The first inscription, which was produced in the court when the case happened to reach to the court for the Ram Mandir in the middle of the 19th century, that's when the only inscription produced was Allah. That is the only thing which was said that it's on the door. Allah, that's all. After that, there are set of inscriptions which are produced in the court again. And in the inscription, they got the date wrong. There's a three line of inscription. One talks about the date of destruction to be 935. One talks about, 930. Other talks about it 935 Al Hijri. There's a gap of 5 years. It's the same set of inscription. First line, second line, third line. One line says 930, one line says 935. A royal inscription done by such a serious person like Babur will not be joking around with the dates, for the heaven's sake. This inscription even got the name of Babur wrong, but seldom we know the language. We couldn't pick it that Muslim side is fudging. They had got the name of Babur wrong, but I don't know whether our scholars did not know how to read Farsi or what was the problem. We fell to the trap. That in these inscriptions became the base model to make a case that Babur ordered Mir Baki to destroy it. Now, what is very interesting is there's a mistranslation too. When Anas Beveridge Sujan was translating the text, and let me tell it outright and very clear that the academic side of the Britishers was highly evangelical. They hated Hindus and Muslims equally. They had no love whatsoever for Hindus. They had no love. If people expect that they can blindly use the evangelist text to pin down the Muslim side, you are living in some lala land. Because they saw you equally as enemy as they saw as the Muslim. So you need to do a cross check, which is very important. So when Beveridge was translating the Babar Nama, she inserts a verse, or rather amends a verse which is the original one. She says that Mir Baki Tashkandi comes to see the Padshah along with the army of Awadh. Now, this along with the army of Awadh is an annotation added by Beveridge. In the Farsi manuscript, we just see Baki Sagwal, not Mir Baki Tashkandi. There is no character called Mir Baki Tashkandi. Comes to see Babar, not with any army. There is no description of army. Army is the imagination or the insertion of Anis Babu Sujan. Original text does not talk about it. And where he comes from? He comes from Lucknow. Lucknow is quite far from Ayodhya. Why he was in Lucknow? Because he was fighting a battle against Bibban and Baizar, the two rebels, or rather, they were from the Lodi camp, who were running here and there, the fight to pin them down. In the Lucknow, this battle happens. And when this battle happens, that's where Baki Sagwal is engaged in. So how can he be destroying a temple while he is fighting with the Bibbal and Baijar? Now, what is again very interesting thing? People say that few fragments of Babar Nama is missing. Babar was not writing, that's why he does not talk about Ayodhya. Fair enough. Okay, let's inspect it then. So what happens that the sequence is this way. He first builds the mosque of Dholpur. Second is Agra, and then people say that Ayodhya mosque was built. Now, if Ayodhya mosque is built after, if you look at the chronology, Dholpur and Agra, it means that next time when he will talk about Dholpur and Agra, and his successors will also talk about Dholpur and Agra, they should talk about Ayodhya. Interestingly, after the alleged destruction of the Ayodhya Ram temple, after the construction of the mosque, Babar is writing in the diary, he talks about Dholpur and Agra mosque which were destroyed earlier. He talks about it but does not talks about Ayodhya. He has no fun not talking about it because he never knew that he will have to have the case being fought by Babri Action Committee side. He was not aware about it. So why would he not mention it? हुमायूं नामा में Gulbadan Begum, the sister of Humayun and daughter of Babur, talks about two mosques built by Babur Pasha. One is Dholpur and Agra. Again, Sambhal is also not built by Babur, by the way, nor Sambhal nor Ayodhya. These all are recent claim by the Muslim too, and we fell in the trap. And so next in Jahangir Nama, Jahangir talks about two mosques built by Babur. This Dholpur and Agra, no mention of Ayodhya. Why? What agenda will they have to hide this? There is no agenda whatsoever. They will be very clear. So what happened that Muslim side wanted to pin it to Babur so that it can go date as far as possible. It was a very obvious thing which they wanted to, and we fell in the trap because Stephen Theller, who visited there, he makes a point that uh, the local memory says that it was destroyed by Aurangzeb. Francis Buchanan says that local memory of the Hindus says, but the Muslims are saying it. So he agrees that it's actually destroyed by Babur, and that's where the whole thing starts. Before that, we see the case of temple existing till 1650s. The temple is very much there, and only we see the appearance of mosque from the era of the Aurangzeb. And we have the Farman which talks about destruction of temples in Ayodhya and Kashi and Mathura. Temples. So if it destroyed the Tretaga Thakur temple, and I'm forgetting one more temple's name, he destroyed that temple, and then the third is why will he leave this one, or why won't it be done by them when there is a farman? So when people ask that farman kahan hai, farman is for the collective destruction of the temples. We have it right there. So we have all major reasons to believe that it was destroyed by Aurangzeb, and we were taken for the ride. We went on the ride which the evangelist and the Muslims wanted us to go through, and we fell for it, and great right wing scholars also fell for it, and it's a very sorry state.
Thank you. To the audience, like if you want to purchase this book and read this book with your in your hand, this is a chapter that is going to pay all the money. This chapter on Sri Ram Janmabhoomi and inscription is something which, with all the evidence which is there, this chapter is something which is good enough to actually go and buy the book itself. Like I could not like find okay how you have done the research to get this, but it's an insane amount of work that goes into these kind of historical books that are written. Sir, so now the last two parts. Who was Mir Baki? Because Mir Baki again is a very controversial character historically and otherwise. So if you can shed a little bit of light more on this.
Well, that's very interesting. So see, Mir Baki is somebody who is not existing per se, and there is no character called Mir Baki Tashkandi. So it was a figment of imagination created by Anis Bebris Sujan, and later on by a few Muslims, and we fall prey to it. He never existed, and he was not a general. Baki Sagwal is a character who appears, and he is not a general. So these designations are very serious things. Generals are treated in a certain way. If you're not a general, if you're a normal soldier, you will be treated in a certain way. And somehow Mir Baki or Baki Sagwal never showed that trait to be one like that. And so people should not fall for this that he was a general of Babur, and he did what he did.
Understood. Because like a lot of people actually quoted it. So I think it was a very nice for you to actually get this debunked in a book itself with research and documentation. Will a lot of
Yes,
people will be quoting from Google and other people and they will not read it.
yes.
So this specific question that is also there in the book itself, was Babur tolerant towards Hindus? Okay. So I think the chapter is there, but and you also spoken about it multiple times. But I think this needs to be reiterated and bolted down to our minds that what who was Babur, what was Babur's psychology when it towards idol worshippers and Hindus in general.
Yes, it's very important because see, to make a case for the Babur tolerance, what people do is that they produce a document. It's called the Bhopal Wasiyatnama, and this is something which surfaced only in the 19th century. And this is something which people often quote, like Ram Punyani and all the other people who want to make secular king out of those who never wanted to be secular. Secularism was not the moral code of conduct of that day. Why would they? Why the hell will they become a secular king? It applies to everybody, whether it's a Hindu king or no one was secular. So it's a bit too far fetched to. So according to that Wasiyatnama, so if you go into the translation, it is addressed to Humayun, and there are three, and it's called Wasiyatnama. It's directly called Wasiyatnama. It's kept in Bhopal. That's why it's called Bhopal's Wasiyatnama. So the few important points which I must make is one point which Babur makes to Humayun, son, the realm of Hindustan is peopled by various creeds. Almighty God, be praised that He confers His sovereignty on thee. So he is saying that sovereignty on thee, as in you have the sovereignty, okay, and that means you are the king now, right? He is a sovereign. Now, second very important point is, thou must cleanse the tablet of thy heart from secretary and bigotries, and do justice according to the custom of each creed, and then respect the Hindus also. Okay. Third point, which is very important, above all, abstain from sacrificing cows. Okay, abstain from sacrificing the cows. Thus will Thus will the hearts of the Hindustanis be won and the peasants be made loyal by the royal bounty. Okay. Then he says, destroy not the temples or worshipping places of any tribe under royal rule. Thus shall be satisfied the Pacha, the peasant with the Pacha. Islam is better advanced by the sword of kindness than by the sword of oppression. So he makes some more points. 8 points are there. Of this, his 5 points literally tell you that Babur was preaching Humayun secularism or say respect everyone else. But this was a forged document, and the first thing to pick the forgery is the seal which is put there. This is not the seal of Babur, and you can make it out only if you know the Farsi. There will be hardly a small difference between the two because here the Ghazi Babur has become Gandhi Babur. So Gandhi Babur and Ghazi Babur has got a lot of difference, and royal seal cannot do such kind of wrong things, right? And then the Persian which has been used is very different from what was being used in that era. Third point is that Humayun was not sovereign when Babur died. He became sovereign after it, after him dying. So how can Babur say that you are now the sovereign? He is not doing any Raj Tilak of Humayun, as this the document wants to make a claim of. So largely, I have debunked it very strongly, and in fact, I have also quoted a poem by this is a poem written by Guru Gobind Singh, where he talks about because he had visited the place and he had witnessed Babur. He was the eyewitness person of the Babur, and he clearly talks about his atrocity. The poem, which I have translated in both, it says that Thou, Creator of all things, talkest to thyself no blame. Thou hast sent Jama disguised as the great Mughal Babur. Terrible was the slaughter. Loud were the cries of the lamenters. Did this not awaken pity in thee, O Lord? Thou art part and parcel of all things equally, O Creator. Thou must feel for all men and all nations. If strong men attacked, who is equally strong? Where is the grief in this? Or whose is the grievance? But when a fierce tiger preys on the helpless cattle, the herdsman must answer for it. So this is what an eyewitness account says about Babur, and that document is a forged one. And we have many other instances like he comparing Hindu gods and goddesses with a pot of wine, pledging to destroy them as he destroys the pot of wine. He declaring Darul Islam, etc. So you have no evidence whatsoever saying that he was at all tolerant towards Hindus.
Yes. So I think I have run out of questions which I had. Okay. So we have one or two questions from the audience, and then I will ask you a few more additional ones if we have time. So Retrowave has asked one question. Okay. What are the chances we'll be seeing places of worship, Special Provisions Act 1991 being revoked or reformed in the next 20 years? I think he's talking about the act and Mathura temple and the Kashi temple being uh, linked in that way because I think the JSD has already said that okay they are not actually applicable. Any I think any monument or any place which is 100 years old beyond is not the purview of the act itself. So there is no legal challenge in that. What do you think?
I agree because the cases are being fought also on the demerit or the loopholes of this very act because it's a very badly drafted act also which has left a lot of loopholes. And if I'm not wrong, it was done by
PV
grandfather or
Narasimha, PV
no, no,
Narasimha
grandfather,
Rao time.
overseas father or grandfather, somebody had drafted it, and so it has got a lot of loopholes. And of course, people are trying to get away with it. I cannot make a point that if it will go away or not because this neither is in my purview or nor I am, but still, I am hopeful that this will be we will get away with this. And with that note, I can give the answer.
Understood. So I have few one or two more questions. So
Yes.
when it comes to like correct, you have talked about the Hindu side being not systematic enough, not doing enough data and research to actually substance substantiate their claims. Okay. And we have Mathura and Kashi being already fought in the courts. So, what do you think us as common citizens who are watching the program? Okay, uh, like what should we do as a Hindu society in general? Any message to Hindu society itself?
So see, one thing is very important that we need to see. We have become bit too reactionary, which is quite obvious because given that how much. So if you are suppressed for very long, the eruption is really it's a very scientific law. It does happen. If you press it for a long, the result will be with more pressure. So that's why Hindu side, because for very long it was said that Hindu civilization is one civilization which takes you to the downfall, whether it's to the caste atrocity literature or, it goes on and on. You only heard the bad things about it. So as soon as people caught this power of the internet and the power of access to the information at much ease, reactions became a bit too radical. And I'm not saying that you should not react, you should not act. But what I'm trying to make a point is that reactions are often uncontrolled. And this uncontrolled reaction can get you the praise for sure. Because when you are heard to be talking about, say, Hindu cause, everyone will feel good about you. Of course, because this thing was long suppressed. But in that, there's a lot of weed which will also pass through as something which will be seen as something great which has happened to you. And that filter is very important to be put across. And because that filter was not put across, that's why we could never find that who demolished the Ram temple. And even when the court also gave the judgment, they could, because we were trying to get the evidence from the wrong side. See, you have been uh, put into a case where you're trying to prove that Babur destroyed but you will never find it because it never happened. So you were taken for a ride and you were happy to do it. So Hindu side needs to get very cautious about everything what is happening in and around. Uh, like for I will give few examples around it that where we need to get cautious. See, the case of the Taj Mahal again is very important. It's important because we should know that history is very important. Now, for a while, look at the practical point of view. What are we going to do? If say that imagine that it's proven that it was a Hindu structure, acknowledgement happens. What is the next step? Are you going to dismantle it, saying that whatever work was done by non-Hindu should not exist? B, is it practically really possible to go behind a structure like Taj Mahal? Will it be possible to prove it whether it is Hindu structure or not? And I have my opinion around it given the evidences. I know for sure that it was a Hindu structure. I have no doubt about it because the foundation is massive and it is a great feat of engineering by the Rajputs, the way the foundation has been built. And later on, when Raj Jai Singh was given back a few properties, with the leftist will bring in front of you that it was a deal and four Havelis were given. And those Havelis also belonged to some Rajputs, which are being returned back. So it was not something that they were doing some favor to the Jai Singh, and Jai Singh was quite dejected about it. Later on, he stops to send the masons and the artisan to build the Taj, and there's a farman in 1637 asking him to please let them be sent to work, etc. So there are a lot of nuances around it, and like there have been a lot of work. Say that when Piano Okuji was working, so he presented a lot of point of views, etc. Right? There was a lot of point of views. Now, if you really don't do a critical analysis of anything, you will feel that everything is correct. Like the case of Ram Mandir being destroyed by Babur. If I bring those inscriptions, ha ha, ho gaya, done. Ram Mandir was destroyed by Babur. But reality was something else. So you critically examine the evidences given by PNO with due respect to him. I am not saying that he owes no respect from me because I am nobody. He was somebody. He fought at eye with eye day and but you inspect the structure. You inspect the evidences given. The reason why the structure was not called a Taj Mahal, like many people say that there's no Mughal record which is talking it to be Taj Mahal. So necessarily it was a Tejo Mahalya. That is how the illuminated tomb comes. But that is not how the history is done. By looking at the similarities in the name, you need to look at very holistically. So Hindu side is ready to be taken for the ride. The way you go examine, no one is saying that. I am not denying that they may not be great temper. Maybe, I don't know, but as of now I don't believe, because I don't see any evidences whatsoever. And I also don't see that it was entirely built by Shah Jahan. The truth lies somewhere else. So Hindu side needs to get very cautious. Now, see, they are giving you the examples of the four structures which was given back to the Jai Singh. You should ask the question that who those four structure was. You should ask the question that why Jai Singh is not very happy with the construction of Taj Mahal. These are valid questions which are through the evidences. You should not go for the right to start with, because initially PNOG dated it in some 400 AD or something. Later on, he come to 1000 AD, 1200 AD or something, 1200 or 1000 AD, something like that. So he himself was contradicting. So, read it with a lot of cautious, and that's how you can do some justice to the cause of Hindus through the historiography. Don't go for a ride.
Okay, last question to you before we close off this session. Uh, there is a lack of systematic approach towards the way we Hindus today actually do things, okay? And we are too much reactive because of the suppression that we have for hundreds of years. How do you think, like, what will happen after 100 years when this reactionary phase is fizzles out and we settle down and then we try to do some more groundwork and do some systematic work?
So, see, systematic work is what is required. Either it fizzles out or not, because if you keep being reactionaries, then very less substantial work will come as a result. Your results will be like, see, I have nothing against the right wing per se, because often I am categorized to be one, though I don't see myself right left. I have nothing to do with this political wing.
You are the king of right wingers.
Whatever, whatever people may like to call it. But the point is that if you really want to establish a truth, you need to take yourself very seriously. You need to take your work very seriously. And when there's a lot of books which are produced, which are not great read, because the substance is very bad. I'm being very honest, because I really care for the Hindu side. I don't want people to be taken for the ride. Right? You have to be very cautious about the books. If you find some errors, point it out to the authors in personal DMs, reach out to them, ask them, debate them, right? But don't let it become a matter of joke, because time is very less. We cannot wait for that reaction to fizzle out, because once the pigeon is out of the cage, it's gone. It's out there, and a book produced today will be there for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, until it's out of print or something, right? So be very cautious. Let the people whom you see as your heroes do the right cause for the society, because it's very easy to carry it away. Say that today I will say that, hey, I want to do a great book on this. You all will come and appreciate me. And no, that's not about it. It's not about me appreciating you, you appreciating me. The question is that when we all are gone after 50 years, what we have delivered for the generation, like what exactly is, are we going to be those scholars, whoever wants to do some scholarly work, that our work will be referred for the ages to come? Are we going to replace those books of the leftist? And you can't replace the book of a leftist if you are not doing substantial work. So you can ask today that why publisher are biased against. The whole reason is that publisher is not biased. They see the market. Publisher sees a market. They want to see a market, and anything which sells good will be given an opportunity. So to get into serious scholarship, don't get carried away by, and in fact be ready to accept that I am wrong. Like often on social media I've accepted, okay, this was my stand. someone catches me, I say, okay, it's my mistake. I am ready to accept it, and because it's not important that you know it all, right? It's you can't know it as well, but it's important to accept your mistake and move on with it. If you don't do it, then that's not what a scholarship can be like.
Okay, just one thing. When you mentioned that, okay, publishers are not biased, but we have seen, correct, a lot of crap is published in the name by the academia in the name of history.
Yes,
So there is an ideological bias which is there in the academy. Like some people, I know some
academy.
people who, uh, some people call academia actually a kind of mafia. Okay,
Yes, it
they
is.
they run they they run a citation loop to
Yes,
actually get their things done. So
yes.
in that context, so why do you think we lack? Do we lack institutional support? Do we lack a kind of mentality to actually do long-term thinking in terms of institutions, research, publications? Is that something which is missing for last 200 years, or like we are building now? But why do you think it is we are lacking so much behind for 200 years in terms of building institutions which actually take forward our story, our history?
No, the reason is that the only reason is we have not been very serious for scholarship, and I am very true to it because, say for example, you pick. We have been harping about Mughal since at least I have seen social media. We all of us have been. When you go to find a book on Akbar, where do you find the most definitive biography? Where is the so-called right-wing scholars' book on Akbar? Huh? When you really try to look about, okay, there's so much saying about Taj since the time of PNO, etc. Where is the scholarly work for the Taj? Still, everyone wants to quote PNO and become a laughing stock at times because a lot of things which can be repeated. Did we really put effort to? So I will give it to the PNO that he did a research, he did something, he produced something, but I don't agree to his point of view. I certainly am very clear that it was not a temple, as of the evidences which have come through. But the question is to the scholars, the people, or who have a question for the academia, etc. How many papers have we written, right? How many books have we produced? Okay, if academia is blocking you, no one is stopping you from writing the books, and the publisher are really caring about the market. It really is something which is because it's a business at the end of a day, right? If J. Sai Deepak is selling a lot in a particular bookstore, his books is stocked there. It's not just because the bookstore is some sanghi or what people may like to call them. It's just because those books sell. As simple as that. So definitely to start with, it can be a tough journey, but if you want to set the thing straight, we need to do a lot of scholarly work, a rational scholarship work, not ooga booga story. As I often say that you have to be very serious about the scholarship, each and every word you say, so that people take you. So if a left wing comes and picks your book, he is serious. He understands that if you have said something, he wants to get in debate with you. He comes prepared. He is thorough with his studies, right? Right now, given the quality of few of the books in the right wing, I would say that they can be refuted. Many times, I just get a book, I read it, I smile, and keep it to myself. I am not one who you will hardly see me getting into this battle of ego battles of so-called RW and whatnot. But uh, essentially, I read, keep it to myself. I smile, and but that scares me. That where are we heading? What are we writing? Are we really equipped to carry forward the legacy of R.C. Mazumdar, Jadunath Sarkar, and the great legends? Has been a vacuum. We have not produced good books for sure, and that's why I did this book, Hitler.
Is it due to lack of institutional support because the left has an institution built over 200 years? Correct. We do not have. Is it something to do with institutional support that it is not being done? Final last question.
Yes, so that can be one reason, but not a very strong reason, which I would say. I'll tell it to you from my own personal experience because um, Babur 1 was done through, I was a fellow with the RCS for Babur 1. But then whatever books I've written it independently. Nor I found any hassle to get it placed with the publisher, etc. It was I have been rejected by publisher in the past, and I took it with a pinch of salt, realizing that my writing is not good enough. I took it as a thing that it's a criticism of my writing. I need to better myself. And trust me, people may hate me for saying this. The writer of history I love the most is William Dalrymple because his writing is just amazing. He knows how to weave the story and it makes it palatable, it's readable, it's amazing storytelling skill what William Dalrymple owns. And we need to learn it. Even when Swapan Das Gupta said that we need to pick on that, we need to pick on that art of how beautifully we present our text, how it is commercially viable, etc. Right? So again, as I see that a question has popped up, do you need academic credential to access archive? Yes, you need it. It's not easy for like from National Archives, you will need some recommendation from somebody. And my person to go for is Professor Hiraman Tiwari. He gives me the letter, and that's how I access it. And I really owe a lot of thanks to him. Had it not been him, it wouldn't have been easy access for me. There are some roadblocks, but those roadblocks are like very small blocks which you can remove very easily. You can figure it out. It's not so tough. Where there is a will, there will be the way. You will get it.
So thank you, Abhasji, for this wonderful, insightful, and informative session. I think we have talked about a lot of things which are not discussed in general. Okay. So it was really enlightening for the audience as well, and for me as well to actually know all these things. Hopefully, the Hindu side learn to build their own institutions, even the government is not helping. Sometime it will happen, but right now we have to do our bit in the way we can. Namaste.
Yes.
Thank you. Jai Shri Ram. Vande Mataram.